Okay, so now we're in Microsoft 3D Builder, which is a surprisingly useful program for Microsoft, which is why they got rid of it. And you now have to download it from some dodgy place or other. Hopefully I'll remember to put a link in the description if I can still find it. You can basically download it off their servers, but they don't offer it in the store anymore. And it's quite useful because, yeah, it will tell you if there's anything wrong. It looks like somehow, despite being remeshed and using the 3D printing fixing tool, almost everything is invalidly defined. And what's funny is that somehow the outie wheel here is fine, and the innie wheel is broken, and the outie wheel is broken, and the innie wheel is fine here. So no rhyme or reason. So I'm going to do that, but I'll need to open them separately for this. And all we need to do is click here and then hope that 3D Builder doesn't destroy them. Sometimes it does, but it hasn't. So I'll save that. I will say that it looks possible that the detail is a little lost, but I think it's due to the smoothing, possibly. So let's hope that's not the case. Otherwise, I might need to go over the details with the draw tool again. Not everything, just the pattern on this armor. But this is now fixed, so I'll save that and do that for the rest of the pieces. This car looks cool. And I've got to think of a fun license plate on the back here. 3D Builder's having real trouble with this one small wheel. You can see this is sort of what I mean by wrecking it. Makes it very rough for whatever reason when it fixes it sometimes. Sometimes I will find this unacceptable, but for a small wheel, I don't mind. For detailed little figures, it's much more annoying. Also, it's just choosing whatever size it wants instead of millimeters, centimeters, inches, whatever it feels like. It's a bit annoying. And this is how I emboss, like I was saying. You could probably do this in Blender. I don't know how. It's very easy to do. Famous last words in 3D Builder. You literally just go edit, emboss, and then you can put whatever you want on there. It can be a picture, it can be a text. You can use whatever fonts you have on your computer. This was like sort of the first real customization I started to do once I had a 3D printer is draw pictures or create logos and put them on things. Space Marine shoulder pads, that kind of thing. Can't think of anything better, so for now I'm just going to put Dragster and LeetSpeak. I had a good font for this because I made a friend of mine a Rocket League car for Christmas. I have no idea what font I used there. Not that one. You cannot read that. Nullshock, I think. I really hope Nullshock is a free license font. I'm just going to go check that actually. Free for commercial use. Thank you, Nullshock by Typodermic Fonts. Pull it out a little bit. Is that aligned? More or less. That's the only issue is you can't really, as far as I know, align things automatically. So you just got to sort of hope it works. Cool. Bit of a weird thing. So if you emboss a thing, 3D Builder won't know whether the whether the model has been messed up by it until you open it again. So I had to close it and reopen it, and then I'll repair it. And that hopefully will not mess up the texture like it did with the wheel. If it does, I may just not bother. It's a shame because I think on the face that looks fine, but on other bits, it's losing some detail. So I'm just going to not bother, and I'm going to hope that's not an issue. It's not always an issue. Now we go into Chitubox. You can also use Lychee. Lychee is where I started on. Lychee? I don't know how you say that. The fruit, but not the fruit. A program for making 3D prints. A slicer, it's called. When you've made your 3D model and you want to 3D print it, it has to be turned into a slice, or you have to slice it. I don't know what the terminology is. But the scale is all wrong. This is not, they should not be that tiny. Okay, I guess that is fair. I don't think I've scaled these at all. What I'm going to do is I'm going to open up the body, and then I'm going to open up the body of another figure. Let's open up Silo. They're the biggest. Oh yeah, you can see significantly bigger. And then hopefully, basically just match the face size. Scale is actually the trickiest thing with 3D printing I've found. Because once you've got it in your hands, a small difference in scale actually is quite noticeable. So I think even though this looks about right, I think Riley's too big. Although it's not far off. 285, thereabout. I'll try that. I can always reprint it if it's not right. So now all I need to do is open them up and scale all of them to 285 and save them. And I also make a note as well, so I don't forget this. In classic Microsoft fashion, it's doing some weird stuff. Trying to open the wheels in different scales again, even though I've already saved them as this scale. And putting them a million miles away from the measurement scale, so I can't even actually see what scale they are. Very helpful. Maybe I can compare them from Chitubox to 3D Builder. So it's 8mm tall for the small one in Chitubox, and 80mm tall. Right, so yeah, it's just gone completely wrong. It's just, they should all be in millimeters. It's just being annoying. It's just being Microsoft, isn't it? There's still elements of Microsoft in it, despite it being mostly useful. You still get that classic Microsoft flavor. Just nothing working very well, but you're forced to use it anyway because they're Microsoft. And they've become so rich that there's no incentive for them to ever improve. No politics on this channel. Let's see if that'll work. I really hope so. Cool, that looks better. That also looks huge. The car is so big. I'm going to bump them down a couple %, but I think it's right. It's just that it's huge. I made this decision a while ago, and I'm now realizing what I've done. So in terms of supporting, In terms of supporting, the best thing to do is 30-degree or 45-degree tilt, supposedly, which I do with the wheels. But the key thing really is that you want the details to be facing away from this build plate, because all the supports are going to attach here. So you want it to be somewhere they haven't seen. There's also a couple other things to consider, although only really when you're making moving wheels like me, like a fool. So for this, we could do that, something like this. That'd be okay, but then all this is going to get messed up. So really, I like to just sort of think about how can we do it the best way to not have any of our details get ruined, and then just sort of fiddle with it from there, rather than worrying about the exact angles. So, here, probably the best for them, gives it a nice angle on this lance, which is going to be the most annoying bit to print, and all the supports are going to be where the body joins the chair, which won't be seen. What I should have done here, but can I be bothered to? Basically, it would be useful to smooth this out where it meets the chair, otherwise it's too tight. I think that won't actually be that much of an issue here, but in some cases it means that they won't fit together. On the other hand, one of the rules of 3D printing is just do it. If you think something's going to be an issue, just do it. And it should be relatively easy, because now I can just, import the file directly and smooth this out. It's always so much easier to solve these issues on the computer than in real life. So just do that. Yeah, if we just smooth this, all the sharp edges, smooth them away. And I've actually forgotten something. I need to add a bit to attach this to the chair, which is annoying, because that means I'm going to have to redo the license plate at least. Not constantly swearing is the hardest part of all this. But I think I'm doing okay. Like here, where Microsoft just decides that instead of 100%, what if I started at 3.94%? Wouldn't that be fun? And we're back. We're back to where we were. I'm a little unsure of how best to support this chair. Now, realistically, this should be in 2 pieces, but I refuse. I want the detail here and here is the issue. I think I might just tilt it slightly and hope. That way, when it's making it, those wheel holes are not completely straight, which I think helps, but possibly hurts. Tell me in the comments. Okey-dokey. Now I'm just going to auto support. Sorry, I'm not very good at manual supporting. I'm going to go with lights. Now I'll add a whole bunch of stuff. I particularly want to support this because I've had trouble before with these not being round when they come out. I think that's because the edges need supporting. These are not bad, but I don't like this sort of clipping through here. So I'm going to get rid of those and replace them with some very similar ones, but that don't clip through the dang geometry. You can see it highlights in red where areas that need supporting, particularly kind of tips, need supporting, and edges. As far as I know, small and extra small supports are very good for details. So I have a super light support that I took from, I think, J3D's guide, and that's good for details. Corners I always support like that. Little tips of those claws, make sure those all have supports. Yep. Don't like these little supports because you have to clean them out afterwards, but they are good and they leave barely any marks at all. So it is worth enduring them. He looks pretty good. Tip of the hair definitely needs supporting. There's always a couple of bits that the auto supports just miss, but that will definitely break off or not print. Yeah, any sharp details probably need a support at the tip. Don't really like the amount of little supports going on here, but I can always optimize this some other time. So like I say, light support's good for preserving details, but if you want to keep it actually anchored, medium support is what you want. So I'll usually put a couple middle supports on. Medium supports even. Tend to put them at the lowest point and somewhere else. Sometimes we do a tripod kind of pattern, but it's not space for that on these wheels. But for the car, we can put in a few. 1 under the chin, 2 at the front, 2 at the back. With our supports done, set the auto layout, and we can slice. If this works, the good thing about having the car laying down like that is this isn't a very tall print, so it's fairly fast. With resin printers, it's all about the height. How much is there does not matter, it just matters how high it is. One final thing I'll do once I've saved my slice, I'll open it up in UV Tools, which is just a slice editing program. You can see this is the actual slice. The 3D model is converted into a series of black and white 2D images, and this is what your 3D printer uses. Don't know why it's flickering so much, but apologies for that. And I have some settings that I'm going to use on here that may or may not do anything, but I'm superstitious. I think that they help. And then we'll save. Now that's nice and saved. I can send it to my 3D printer. I use Chitu Manager, but you can also just put it on a USB. And once that's all transferred, we'll be ready to go and we'll be ready to print. What I am going to need to do is go make sure everything's okay in there, make sure that the resin's heated up enough, make sure that the right resin's in there, because I did use some clear resin for a Christmas present, so I have to hope that that clear resin isn't still in there. It might be. So I'll clean the vat out, make sure there's no resin stuck in there, which is pretty easy because they have a cleaning function. Make sure it's hot enough. I've got a heater. It's very cold outside and it's in a shed, so a heater is very important. Give it a stir. Stirring the resin before you print is pretty important. And then I'll put on the print and we'll see how that goes. So nice, we're done with the 3D sculpting phase and now we enter 3D printing troubleshooting. It might all work, or maybe none of it will work. Maybe the screen will have broken and that'll be a whole thing. Did you know that 3D printer screens are expendable parts and they don't come under the warranty? I do. Ask me how I know. See you, everyone.
I want to express my thanks to the Sasquatch for letting me on his YouTube channel. This is a big cause. I think about these things a lot. About when you get really down to it, what is a wheelchair? A chair is a symbol that has existed for centuries. The throne of the Lord in heaven and of kings in past eras. It is a symbol of stability and support. This symbol, this chair, can only have come from prehistoric times, predating humanity itself. Our simian ancestors would hang from trees, eating bananas, in fear of the serpents, thinking to themselves, "Boy, if only I had something raised from the ground to rest upon that would protect my feet, the basis of my body, my two-legged paradigm, protected from the serpent's venomous mouth." These chairs became the basis for vehicles our historic ancestors would drive to work at the quarry in. But there was something missing. For millions of years, they would have to propel these primitive cars with only their feet. I've thought this through for weeks at a time, and I don't see any other way it could be. Believe me, I've tried. Until a certain carpenter, the son of the Lord, he fashioned for us all a circular tool, which came to be known as the wheel. Just think about that. It is a marvelous tool. It turns, but it's always the same shape, no matter which way you turn it, centered around a point of stability. This is life, isn't it? This is history, forever turning, unchanging. We are those same monkeys eating bananas in trees, and playing fetch with our pet dinosaurs, fighting the snakes. And what is it that kills a snake? Getting run over by a wheel. Oh, I've been reminded that I am here to talk about donating to children to give them wheelchairs, and I will get to that in time. And yes, I must implore you to like and subscribe and hit that bell. One thing I do want you to think about is, does society really need children to have wheelchairs? Now, I don't mean anything by that. I just want you to consider the question. Whatever conclusion you draw from that question, that's on you, buddy. That's on you, pal. So chin up, bucko, and donate. Or don't. I'm not here to tell anyone how to live their life. Although if you do want to know how to live your life, I have a 123-hour series I have asked to be linked in the description below. It's called Jung, the Four Humors. It's called Jung, the Four Humors, and the Celestial Firmament. How I learned to not be afraid of the dark anymore. God bless.